Hey Cap, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Um, how often do you change your toothbrush?
Mm, I use a Sonicare toothbrush, so probably every like month, 2 months, I guess.
Oh, man, I think I need to. I think I'm too stingy on my toothbrush. I really think that I need to change it out more. Like I understand the value of like, yeah, it still kind of works, but I looked at it today. I was just brushing my teeth before the show, and I'm like, I've probably been using this thing for like a solid 3 months now. Like it's probably time. The bristles are like all over the place. It's probably got
Well,
like
that's not.
tooth grease. Does a toothbrush get worse if you don't change it out? I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt gross to me. I felt a little disgusted. I had this similar thought yesterday when I was washing my bed sheets because I was pretty ashamed of myself that I hadn't done it for. God, I'm embarrassed. I'm gonna say it. I didn't wash my bed sheets for an entire month.
Ah! Oh my God! What is wrong with you?
I know.
You're a filthy, filthy creature.
I normally do it every 2 weeks,
Oh my
but I
God, dude.
but I didn't do my laundry. I didn't do. I let my laundry slide for 2 weeks. I just let it pile up.
Do you wear pajamas to bed?
No, I sleep naked like everyone should.
Oh my God! You just made it so much worse. You just made it so much worse. If you said like I wear pajamas to bed, then I would have given you more leeway. I don't do that either. But I don't think I've ever gone a month. That is
Yeah,
awful.
it's the
Awful. You know what's funny, Joey, is when you're talking about when you asked that question initially about the toothbrush, I could immediately was thinking in my head, yes. I didn't need to know how much time. I didn't need to know, not because I think you're a dirty person, but because I know you like to be able to save money and push the extra limits. So
oh
I knew immediately. I was like, yep, you don't buy enough toothbrushes.
I really try and min max. So the
Yeah.
toothbrush thing feels like I can save a little bit. Like maybe every year I save one whole toothbrush. Really getting that extra $2 or $3 out of my year. Pretty
You're not
pretty.
saving anything by not changing your sheets, though.
Oh, dude. I have one pair of sheets that I really like. So instead of just swapping between them and just waiting, I'm just like, I'll do the laundry next weekend. And that happened twice. I pushed off doing laundry, and it's just, man, this is probably a real wake up call for anyone who changes their sheets less than once a month. Who's probably being like, "What are you talking about? That's normal." I do not want to condone that. I wanna publicly shame myself and say how embarrassed I am about the fact that it took me a month to clean my bed sheets. And if
Yeah,
you're
2 weeks is pushing it.
if you're 2 weeks is normal. I'm very content with 2 weeks. I
Okay.
think maybe I'll switch to maybe you've shamed me into a weekly cadence, Cap.
How often? Okay, do you change your bed sheets at the same time? Or sorry, your pillowcase?
Yes, I watch my pillowcases at the same time.
Okay. You should try and get your pillowcase down to once a week.
My pillowcases would be easier to rotate. There's much less maintenance to just have a couple sets and then swap between them. That's very easy to do, and I'm sure that
Exactly. Apparently, it's much better for your skin. I've learned that from Ellie. Is that pillowcases are rife with some bacteria. You just change that out
I'm
every 4
also
or 5 days.
always laying in bed, like because bed is like my primary TV watching area too. So bed isn't just like my only sleep area. Bed is my in very often area. So I'm just making it
Yeah.
worse. I'm making everything worse on myself.
All the oil on your hair goes into the pillowcase. Then you put your face on it, and then it goes on your face. No,
Have you ever
gotta change
changed?
that.
Have you ever changed a mattress protector?
Yeah. I wash mine. I usually wash it like every other. So like I'll do the sheets, but leave the mattress protector, and then the next time I'll do both.
I changed. I changed my mattress protector, which had like a vinyl. I think most of them have like a vinyl layer on the underside, or at least some of the cheaper ones do. I think that I had a cheaper mattress protector, and I took
Okay.
it. I took it off after. It's been a minute because I wanted to replace it because like it felt it was on there for too long, and I'm like, oh no, all the plastic was like crumbling off the underside, and I'm like, this is I hate myself. I absolutely hate myself. So I got a new mattress protector. We got clean sheets. Tonight's gonna be a glorious night
A
in bed. I'm
nice
very
mattress
excited.
protector,
I
one
did.
that was like cotton and stuff.
Yeah, one that wasn't like, one that's actually rated for like allergens and is nice and washable and creates a seal.
Right.
So you zip it together and then you're supposed to zip tie it to like really create like a firm seal and the zipper doesn't go away. But I zipped it without like getting all the air out from underneath the mattress protector in between the bed.
Okay.
And then I
Yeah.
tied it off. So then I had like a giant cloud of air in between the mattress and the mattress protector, and I'm like, fuck me. To cut the zip tie and let the air out, and it was a whole process. I need a girlfriend so that I can have someone to help me change the mattress protector. It was a hard one-person
That's
project.
true.
It was a hard one-person
is.
project.
Changing sheets is a lot easier with two people. That's for sure.
Well, I think
And again, when I was single, I just had a mattress on a floor, so
I guess that makes
that
it
wasn't
easy.
very hard.
That makes it easy
It
to
makes
change
it a lot
sheets, too.
easier. Yeah.
Man, I guess I'm done embarrassing myself, and we can probably figure out what to do with the show now. I should really move along from that, and I'm gonna immediately order new toothbrushes on Amazon when we're done. But
I'm in the process of ordering things right now because I'm getting ready to leave for We Play. I'm going to be gone for like 5 weeks or something. So I ordered myself a Switch because Ellie plays the Switch at home. So I wanted a Switch to travel with. So I ordered a Switch Lite.
Mhm.
And then I got myself, there's always like a week before I go on long trips. There's always like a number of things that I like order. Just anything to make my life easier when I'm out.
What does that
Out
like
in the world.
constitute? Is it like toiletries that you
Entertainment.
like?
Certain toiletries, yeah. Ellie's really been getting me on skincare routines, so sometimes it'll be stuff like that. It's mostly entertainment stuff though. So I'll load up on
Books?
like Switch games right before I go on books. Yeah, I'll probably download 1 or 2 more books onto my Kindle. Because most of the time I just read when I'm on planes. That's like the only time that I read is like if I stop traveling, I stopped reading. just no more.
So
I'm
what's
gonna
like,
go back to my books and be like, I haven't read any of this for 8 months.
what's your go-to like if you're planning to travel, what do you really need? Is it you need like to bring your specific toiletries you want? You're gonna take a Switch. You're gonna take your Kindle. You're gonna take a laptop. You're gonna take
Yeah, for sure. I need a laptop in the hotel room when I'm sitting there for like when I've got like 4 hours to kill and I'm in my room and I need to like I want to watch something. I don't really want to do it on my phone. I could potentially play games on it, but I don't really do that very often. Most of the time I just watch shows. I watch a lot of horror shows because Ellie can't really watch that. So all the horror genre stuff I'll catch up on that I've missed for like 3, 4, 6 months. I'll catch up on all that stuff because I've always been a fan of the horror genre, but it's always been apparently it's gotten really good over the last 10 years, but like the early 2000s and early 90s horror films were not that great.
Yeah, I think
there were like some real gems, and those really tickle me. But
I believe
one of my all-time favorite films is The Thing, for example. I love that.
Okay, I actually didn't think I was going to like The Thing, but I walked away from The Thing being like, I actually really liked this movie. I was happily surprised by watching it. My friends have been forcing me to watch movies, and I never used to watch a lot of horror movies. But then I've been watching more and more horror movies, and then kind of playing more horror games. It's like a genre that's kind of crept up on me that I never really embraced. But now I'm like, I think I don't have a problem with this. I think this is okay, and I'm much more open to it. I think after playing Half-Life Alyx, which is basically a horror game, I feel so much more desensitized to all of it.
What I really hated about horror in early 2000s, it was so reliant on jump scares, and that transferred into horror video games as well. That everything was so reliant on jump scares. And like for me anyway, I always jump to that. Like you give a loud sudden noise, I'm gonna be startled. Like it just doesn't matter. But like so you'll get me, I guess. But like immediately afterwards, I'll just be like, well, that was lazy and dumb. There's no thought process to it. I like horrors that are more psychological in nature.
What are some examples of that? I'm forgetting the. God, why can't I remember the movie? Oh my god. Give me some examples of good horror movies you like.
So I actually I was surprised, but I actually really liked Insidious. I think it was Insidious. I think that came out like sometime in like 2012 or something like that. I really like The Thing, for example. What else? Okay, I'll tell you what I'm not a fan of. I was not a fan of. I like Saw, but I didn't like. I think I saw like Saw 2, and I was like, okay, I can see where this is going. And like every Saw after that, I didn't watch. The Hills Have Eyes, for example. Like anything that was like overly grotesque, anything that relies on jump scares or that is like overly grotesque in how it scares you, not a fan of. What was the predecessor to Us? I'm not sure if that's really.
Isn't Us the first one, and then the second one is?
No, Us was the second one. Us was the Clones one.
Yes. God,
Get Out.
Get Out. Okay. Yes.
Get Out. Yes. I like that genre of films. So Get Out was very inspired by like. I'm not a big film guy, but I'm pretty sure that's like mostly inspired by like 80s horror. That sort of like Evil Dead. I love the Evil Dead series. That's like horror comedy, but I quite like that.
How did you feel about Hereditary?
I have not seen it. I've heard I'm supposed to watch it. Somebody said it like surprised them. It was good. I watched it recently. It Part 2. Those were two of my plane movies. I was happy enough with that. I like a lot of zombie movies as well. It's like nowadays I feel like zombie movies aren't really horror, but Train to Busan I think was one of my favorites of a couple years ago. That was quite good.
I'm going to continue the urge for you to watch Hereditary, because out of all the horror that I've seen, it very much pleasantly surprised me. Like
I imagine that will have to be on a plane.
Are you gonna?
Because it came out
like,
recently, right?
You
I mean, no. I think it's a movie that came out like somewhat recently, and I feel like it just has to be on a plane. It's just one of those movies. They always have.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, plane movies, like there's just a type for plane movies. If it's like, of course, they're gonna have like a couple of like Avengers and like really big names like that, but a lot of them are going to be that kind of like second tier of movies, and if they're like a year or two old, they're definitely on there. I don't know if it's just because of the
Hereditary should be A tier is all I'm saying. It should be S tier. Are you worried at all? Like, how's your anxiety about getting on a plane next week?
It's whatever.
It's whatever. You're just like,
you know what it is? I'm more anxious about getting sick before I go, because then I don't get paid.
Got you. So you gotta get there and have a negative result.
Of course, I'm like somewhat anxious about it, but not really. It's just for a lot I'm anxious, getting on planes in general. I think there's a risk of death or injury in many things you do in life. So I try not to worry. Of course, I'll prepare myself as much as I can. I'll be bringing gloves. I have a couple of different masks. I'll be bringing all that sort of thing. I'm flying business. I insisted on flying business so I could try and keep my distance away from people as much as possible. I told them I wasn't going to come if I wasn't business. But so I'll do that to prepare. But once I'm like in the act of doing it, then I just turn off that part of my brain, because there's nothing I could do about it at that point in time. So I just roll with it.
Man, Yeah, I think that's the healthy way to look at it, right? Like, it's gonna happen. You'll probably be fine. There's some inherent risk, but like, cost benefit wise, everything should be okay.
Yeah,
Probably.
it's not the absolute most responsible thing to do in the world, but got to get paid, got to make money.
Exactly. We're not making money on the podcast anymore, so how can we subsidize
Yeah.
your bougie ass lifestyle, Cap?
I mean,
Dude.
my car is falling apart, man. I need to replace my car.
Dude, I went over to Austin's house yesterday. His apartment. I shouldn't credit you with owning a home. I went over to his apartment.
That's why I need money. I don't own a home.
Went over to his apartment for the first time to drop off some audio equipment, and he's like, "Dude, you have to see my car." And I'm like, "What's wrong? No, what happened with your car?" And I felt guilty because I'm like, "Man, I was just making fun of your car in the last show. Like, what?" What could have happened? And then I walk over to it, and the first thing I notice is that your gas cover doesn't actually close, and there is just a piece of black duct tape that you use to stick your gas cap cover on.
I was at the grocery store. Ali told me, it was like, oh, now the gas cap doesn't close all the way. And we were in the grocery store. I was like, I saw some Gorilla Tape. I was like, okay, I'm sure enough of this will fix the problem. And so I put some, like, I wrapped it around so it would be double-sided. And then I put one on the inside, and I stuck another piece of tape on the outside to try and latch it closed. It doesn't. But it does now, though. I just got it back from the shop today, and got that as well as the bumper that you saw that was falling off.
So what happened? Did you hit something? Did you?
I mean, the car has multiple scrapes, but it's never been in an accident. Straight up.
Are you responsible for all of that body damage?
Between me and Ellie, we're responsible for like 75% of what you saw. There was like a few bumps and scrapes like before you saw it, but it's never been in an accident.
Okay.
It's just old, and it's gotten to the point where now the body is falling apart, I guess. I like, again, it's never been in an accident, so I don't know how the bumper starts falling apart. But yeah, I was driving down the highway off to go do an interview with the documentarian people who are doing the OpenAI stuff, and I was on the highway going 75, and all of a sudden the bottom part of my bumper fell off, and I ran over it. It was very scary.
You're like, what is that?
I pulled over immediately and checked out my tires because I was certain that I had like gouged one of my tires at least. Somehow I didn't. Tires are totally fine. The bottom part of the bumper fell off, so you can't actually tell that much. The rest of the bumper is still coming off on the sides and alongside the gas cap thing. It's like the body of the car as a whole just seems to be coming off like an animal that is just sloughing off its skin. It's just slowly but surely getting rid of the old metal, I guess.
So what's the goal with the car? Is it get another used car? One like, are you gonna like ride this thing into the ground? Is it going to be time? Like, are you gonna look and like pick your spot? Like, if you see a good deal, you're gonna go for it. Is there something specific you have in mind that you want? Like what's the plan?
The thing is that like maybe if I was in a worse state financially, then I would try and run into the ground a little bit further, because it runs fine. That's the thing. It runs fine, but like a lot of little things don't work. Like the cosmetic parts of the car are terrible with it falling apart like the way it is. The overhead lights don't work. The charger, the plug-in charger deal, that doesn't work. The cigarette lighter charger thing, that doesn't work. There are a lot of things that don't work about it. Half the speakers are like messed up. There's just a lot of things. But it's a running car. It's perfectly functional. As long as the bumper is falling off, it's perfectly functional.
How many miles? How many miles does the car have?
I don't know. Some less than 150,000, but more than 100,000.
That car. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, that car still has some value.
Yeah,
You can
it's
resell
old,
that.
but it hasn't been driven that much. Like I don't drive it that much, and as far as I know, the people that I bought it from, they were older, so I don't think they drove it that much either. So yeah, but no, I'm gonna start searching for a new car. Not a new car because that's throwing away money. But I'm probably gonna try and invest into a car that I can actually keep around for like another 10 years. So I'm looking right now at anything that is Honda or Toyota or Subaru, because Honda and Toyotas keep their value pretty well, and
And Subaru is
Subarus,
the inner Pacific Northwestern side of you that just means that you have
yes,
to own a Subaru at all times.
my family all had Subarus, and Subaru did really well for them. So just judging by their experience of it and being around Subarus for so long, I've I just want something that's reliable, that can haul some things if I need to, that has like an okay trunk, that if I go to Home Depot, if I happen to get some lumber or something, I
So
can
you're thinking like
actually
a
have car that
hatchback,
puts
maybe?
it in. Yes. So I'm looking at a Subaru Crosstrek, I believe. So I'm looking like the 2018s or somewhere in there. I'm looking at websites right now trying to figure out what the best used cars are for each year. But yes, some sort of hatchback,
I have
or larger car.
you can take me up on this if you want. I have a lot of experience buying used cars.
Oh, really?
I do.
You do?
I do. All of my cars that I've had, which I think I'm up to 4 now, were all bought used. I was definitely
You've had 4 cars?
2 of them were totaled by other people who weren't me.
Wow.
And one of them I sold because it was like getting over 200,000 miles, and it was just like time to sell it before it lost all of its value. But
I've only had 2 cars. I had one that was passed down to me during my parents' divorce. And then when I came back from Germany, I needed a car, and my family just happened to have a car they were selling for like a family friend. And so I got Blue Book value straight up. Like, I mean, it was a family deal. So it was just like, my uncle's like, you pay me the Blue Book value, take it to a mechanic shop. If there's anything that's needed to be done, then we'll get it done. But yeah, so those are the only 2 cars I've had for 14 years of driving.
Yeah, my first car, we have family friends who owned the tow yard in town. So in California, once you impound a car for, I want to say it is 4 months without it being claimed, it becomes property of the tow yard. And the tow yard will take those cars and like either auction them off or resell them or do, whatever they do. And it's actually one of the reasons that tow yards can stay in business, because they're actually surprisingly expensive to run. It's part of the reason why they charge so much. They really don't make a ton of money. Anywho, that aside, my first car was from the tow yard, which I ran until someone ran into me. And because that was a 93 Acura Vigor, it was green. It was the same age as me. So someone destroyed that on the 405. I remember vividly. It was the day that NASL Season 2 wrapped, and I was taking White Raw to the airport. And then on the way back from LAX, I was driving back to my parents' house. We were in traffic on the 405, and just someone slammed into the back of it. And that was how that car died. But yeah, my parents, or my dad specifically, was always like a big proponent of used cars. So I've looked at a lot of them. I know a decent amount about what to look at when you're going to buy them. So just hit me up. I probably have some useful opinions.
Yeah,
I don't know much about
Subarus.
I've never
bought a car. I've never bought a car outside of family. So yeah,
it's crazy.
I'll definitely take you up on that.
It's like most people who sell used cars, in my experience, are like honest and real, and they're just like looking to get rid of something and make a couple extra dollars than the dealership wants to give them. But I guess in like any field, there are some people who are just really trying to fuck you over. So
yeah, I feel like dealerships are more likely where you're gonna get like the people who are real pushy, who really try and upsell you.
Yeah, it's not just push. Like you can find some if you're patient, which I think you have the luxury of being right now. You can probably get yourself a deal and come away with something happy. I think so. I got you.
Nice.
I got you.
Excellent.
But yeah, so I went over to your apartment. I forgot that you own a cat, which is something that I am very allergic to. So the whole time I'm like, yeah, I'll hang out, I'll have a conversation. I'm enjoying seeing people while I'm just holding in sneezes because it's a pandemic and no one wants to go into someone else's home and then proceed to sneeze. I'm like, no, I promise, it's just the cat, dude. So
I was surprised you stayed for so long because you were allergic to the cat. I was just like, Joey must be good.
I left and then on the drive home I made the mistake of touching my eye.
Oh no!
Because I forgot about it, and then for the rest of the drive home, I'm like taking my shirt and digging into my eyeball, being like, "Oh, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me." So that happened. I saw Cap. In case you're curious, his computer setup in his living room. There's a bay window to his right, and his front door's to the left. He has a very nice sized kitchen. He's got a kitchen that has room for a dining room table, but there's just cat stuff there. So
yeah, fuck a dining room table.
You don't
Us
need
millennials don't do that shit.
That's true.
Wow, how am I gonna watch TV with a dining room table? Like, bruh, just set me up with a table in front of the couch.
Cap's coffee table is two IKEA Malm $10 stools that are pushed together.
Yeah, because our couch is very low.
Because your couch is very low.
And Ellie's pretty ingenious. She it's stuck together by those Velcro. So they have different kinds, but the ones that you hang posters up. Yes, the command strips. The Velcro command strips are put on the side of the stools and pushed together. And so when we have friends over, which is very rare, which is like twice in our lives, but when we do have friends over, we actually have 4 of those stools, and so you can form an actual pretty decently sized stool table with 4 of those attached together. It's big enough to play board games or have. I think we had like 10 people in here for Thanksgiving or some shit. It was weird. We had like a lot of people over for some reason.
They're also $7, so you can have 4 of them, and you can just like drop an elbow through one and not feel bad about it. Yeah, because you're like, yeah, I guess I'll go. Dude,
once I get a house, like I'm gonna go all out. I'm gonna have like a nice couch. I'm gonna have a desk. But everything I have right now is like real fucking. It's IKEA shit all the way. My desk. My desk is one of those IKEA tables where you get the wood board and then you buy the legs separately and then you just screw them in.
Yep,
that's what I've done ever since Germany.
Whenever that is that you have the privilege of moving and you get to toss some of that stuff, you have to remember to destroy those little IKEA end tables. They are so much fun to just like slam your foot through or like drop an elbow on or just punch because they're so flimsy and you don't feel bad doing it because yes.
The ones we have are pretty solid.
They are solid, but the inside is just cardboard. They are so much fun. Really? They're so much fun to break. They're so much fun to break.
I now have an urge to go squeeze my stool/table thing to see if what it feels like.
So I have a great understanding of your car and your living room situation, and the fact that I am itchy with your cat came. Did you like the keyboard cleaning slime?
Dude, that shit works great. Yeah, I got it here. Yeah, this shit works great.
I saw that. I didn't comment on it when I saw it, but I'm like, oh fuck, he really did buy it.
Yeah. Of course, my keyboard actually broke like a day or 2 later, but I'm sure those things are completely not correlated. But yeah, it does work great, no doubt. It gets all the little hairs and dust and shit.
Yeah. Were you grossed out by the amount of hairs on the keyboard?
Not really.
Okay.
Because I like somewhat regularly clean my desk and take the keys off of my keyboard and completely clean it. So
yeah, you're better than I am. You clean your sheets. We've established this. Man.
I mean, like, I need to be in a good mental headspace for Dota. You know, there's bad enough shit going on inside of the game that I need like my desk area to be like this is actually, as I look around, this is actually you probably saw one of the worst times my desk looks. It's not in a good place right now.
I feel you.
I need a relatively clean workspace.
I'm very much the same way. You need a good headspace for Dota. I was trying to find a way to connect. I'm like doing some fucking galaxy brain shit where I'm like, okay, we gotta segue Dota, League of Legends, Riot, good decisions cleaning, bad decisions Saudi Arabia. Like, how do I need to pull these things together?
I got it. You need to clean out your workspace, much like you need to clean out your business investments and ties, your partnerships. You got to clean these things out, you know? Make sure it's nice and tidy and neat.
You got to have a work environment where people can, like, you know, move and thrive and be fluid and not worry about the fact that they, like, you know, identify as gay or a woman.
Yeah,
right?
They need to feel comfortable, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Both in the workspace. Yeah, being comfortable in your workspace. There it is.
Did you... I mean, the answer is yes, so I shouldn't even ask the question. I assume you're familiar with what went on this last week over with Riot and LEC, which I think is super interesting. But I have a sneaking suspicion that not everyone who's listening to a Dota show knows what happened with Riot over the last week. So can you give me a little TLDR catch up?
So basically, the LEC announced a new partnership. It is with Neon, Neom. Neom is supposed to be a futuristic city in Saudi Arabia. It's a pet project of
Prince
MBS, or I can't remember the acronym that everyone uses for him. But yeah, it's a pet project of him. They have been doing some questionable things, and yeah, it is MBS, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. He's the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. They have been doing some questionable things in their process of trying to settle Neom, including removing indigenous peoples from their lands, not even paying them. They have the promise of partnership of payment in exchange for the land they're being evicted from. But obviously, like it's already questionable. You're removing them, but then you're also not paying them. There was one protester who was particularly outspoken. He even said that he was probably going to be raided and they were going to plant weapons on him. Sure enough, a couple days later, he does get raided. He is killed, and they said they found weapons on him, like some real questionable shit. But obviously, that was particularly bad for LEC, who has, I believe, 2 members of the talent are a part of the LGBTIQ group, and then also it's like a pretty heavily female talent broadcast team as well. So there are people who I would say have more personal ties to what some of the like hardships that go on in Saudi Arabia, which is notoriously homophobic and not very liberal when it comes to women either. Yeah. So yeah, they obviously very warranted that they had a lot of issues with that partnership.
Yeah, I think that we see Saudi Arabia coming in to give money for, you know, more Western facing media. I know that it was a giant thing when the WWE went in and they were going to do shows in Saudi and take a bunch of money to do them, and everyone's like, whoa, why, do you remember Jamal? That happened like a week ago and you're gonna go do shows there now? And, you know, there's definitely a weird business line to how much is too much? What partners are too bad? Where can you get away with things? Because, like, you know, a lot of people who bring up, Riot and this partnership. They point to like, well, Riot's just owned by Tencent, so like, what's the difference, right? Like, it's just why is Saudi bad but China is okay? Where is the line? But the answer is that there is a lot of nuance there in between the difference between being owned by what is essentially the state of China versus an oppressive government or a sponsorship that you didn't need to take. Like, I'm sure that they offered a lot of money, and it made sense business-wise. But thinking about Riot's internal workings is really confusing to me, because surely they had to have people be like, hey, guys, there's going to be a lot of backlash. And if there wasn't those people in those boardrooms, then that just harkens back to the whole problem that we've been talking about for months now of, we need some kind of more diversity and representation in these decision-making apparatuses if no one is even questioning the idea of why this might be bad. Like, the Riot boardroom...
Riot already had the whole sexual harassment and like hostile work environment for women deal going on. Like...
I don't believe for a second that's gotten... I think that's just been hidden now. Like, and I know people... I believe people were paid out. Like I believe people filed outside of court and got some kind of compensation at Riot after that whole ordeal. But, like, I don't know, man. We like exist in gaming, which is just so... How does stuff like this keep happening? And the answer feels like it keeps on going back to, there's a lot of white dudes who probably just don't know any better. You look at the LEC thing. It's probably old white dudes who don't know any better. You look at a lot of the problems with women. It's probably a lot of white dudes who don't know any better. Like, how do we start to solve any of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for like corporations, like are just inherently going to do whatever they can to make money very oftentimes. But I do kind of want to tackle the subject of like people talking about the LEC talent and like standing up to this partnership, but not standing up to Riot because they're owned by Tencent or Working Worlds in China. Because obviously there's a lot of crossover there with Dota and like the same work that I do. Did I have like thoughts and questions about like working TI in China and like inherently through my passivity what I am supporting by going to places and supporting things, and where do I draw the line and what I am willing to put my career on the line to defend. And I think that I actually had like a really long conversation with another insider in Dota who was kind of on, I guess, the other side of things, who was kind of arguing with me after I put out a tweet about like supporting them and stuff like that. And we had a really long and very deep conversation about these things. And I think what a couple of the things that I felt very strongly about, and what I really want people to take away from this situation, is that these sort of things are not very black and white for most people. There are some people who are granted the personality, the financial independence, or the conviction to be able to all in on all issues that they find. And they're able to be relatively hypocrisy free. They are able to stand up against all deemed injustices and tackle all of them and not be associated with anything bad. I think that instead of looking at people like virtue signaling hypocrites when they tackle one issue but not another, I think you have to understand that humans are, I mean, we're all naturally flawed, first of all. And
How
second of
dare
all,
you.
because
Sorry,
I think
going
second
on.
of all, because we're flawed, right? That there's only so many things, whether you have the emotional capacity to be able to tackle only so many things. Could be financially, it could be just very naturally. There are some things that you are tied closer to. Obviously, if I'm gay, issues of homophobia are going to resonate more with me. and I will be closer tied to injustices of that nature, and I am more likely to make my stand in those areas. And I think people should be more accepting of that idea, of the idea that it is far better for people to be able to stand up where they feel like they can and put themselves on the line where they can, um, and applaud them for that effort in trying to make the world a better place. Maybe they are even misguided. Maybe you don't like agree with the way they're doing it or whatsoever. I think that's a different conversation with this subject as well. Is like what kind of, I think that's a really deep conversation, but like when it comes to cultural changes, what is the line that you place? Like at what point in time, if changes are being made, like do you accept the fact that there are changes coming, but progress is slow, or do you create a hard line of like none of this is acceptable, even if like it may actually that may backfire and you may actually be shutting people out
And like
that
what
that
trouble
may come to your
is,
mind?
yeah, like what trouble is good trouble and what trouble is bad
Mhm.
trouble, and where do you draw the line with protest too, right? Like still
Yeah.
hyper relevant in America right now and happening in a microcosm with the LEC. Like a lot of people were speaking up and protesting who had real meat in the game. Like if Riot
Mhm.
really wanted to do this, it probably would have been political suicide to do it at the point they were at. But they really could have just gotten rid of all those talent and
Yeah.
had new talent, and eventually it would have been fine, I think.
Yeah, I think it's easy for people to be able to criticize and say like, "Oh, they're willing to do this, for that they're just virtue signaling. Of course, they won't really get fired." Like, like all these sorts of things. But if they were really about the cause, then they'd stand up against this issue that's really big. And, but I think people should be more understanding and forgiving and empathetic about the fact that people fight their battles where they can. And I think this is a clear example of a battle that had a lot of combinations, right? It had personal ties to probably all of LEC, um, just for multiple reasons. It's their brands are very tightly tied with the product, so it affects their career in a way. So they're further incentivized. But on top of that, this was something that was feasible. I think this was a stand. This was a fight that could be won. Whether or not that fight could be won, like if you have problems with China and things that are going on with Uyghur Muslims, that's a really big deal. And I think that being aware of those situations is very important. Whether or not the LEC of talent can stand up to Riot because they're owned by Tencent and because the connection of Tencent with the Chinese government and then Chinese government into Uyghur Muslims, and like be like, well, if they're willing to do that, then they should be willing to stand up to Tencent in China and throw their careers that way. Like that, I think that is being almost cruel in your standards. And I think you should just appreciate that it did take guts to do what the LEC talent did, no matter what you think about how assured their position would be. I promise you, once you're in that situation of standing up to your employer, it is a lot harder. I guarantee every single one of those talent had a thought in their back of their minds that was like, "What if?" Even if it feels like, yeah, like from the outside, it looks like a position that the talent really couldn't lose. But I guarantee you, every one of them had second thoughts about it,
Yeah.
of some kind, of some nature. And I think people should be supportive of those people taking a chance like that and doing what good they can with the position that they are in. Um, and like maybe that will further change, right? Like I can talk about these sort of things because I've been on both sides, right? I've been on the cuckoo situation, which I boycotted Starlighter because I didn't agree what was going on. I think that it was double standards from a community that has shown bouts and bouts and bouts of racism. And I think it was double standards in a way that this player was getting shut out for the things he said. He's still an idiot, but I do think that there were certain things that I didn't agree with. And that bothered me enough that I didn't go. I still went to TI though. I may still work events in China, because that is an issue that is much grander, and I pick and choose my fights where I can. And I will stand up, and I think I've shown multiple times now that I do have um, standards, and I'm willing to take that risk. I'm not somebody who just like sits by and doesn't say anything. I think people focus on the voices that come out, but there's a lot of people you don't hear from in these situations. There are a lot.
Yeah.
I notice every single voice that doesn't say something because I put myself in the position to be exposed, and it sucks.
And you have a
But
platform to do it too. Like when people say that you don't see the
yeah,
people who don't speak out, like there's people beyond talent who aren't speaking out too. Like the LEC isn't just a bunch of broadcasters who are on camera, right? There's a full team of people who work at Riot and then also for the LEC who do all the back end work. There's also the teams and the players. It's not just your group of panelists, right? Like there's a whole ecosystem of people who have, complex opinions about this stuff. So people who aren't speaking up sometimes because like maybe they don't want the deal to go through, but they work for Riot. And it's much easier to get rid of, programmer number 7 or artist number 12 than it is, your main desk host talent.
Yeah, no doubt that there are many people in positions that do not have the, dare I say, clout. I don't know, like the positions of power that you can actually make stands, and people do notice. There are many people who are not in that position, and I think in general people should just be more empathetic of both sides. Everyone's fighting their own battles, and you have no idea like what battles people are fighting. Just whether it's bigger stage battles like trying to make the world better, or it's smaller stage battles about trying to make people around you happier, better. That is a lesson that just stretches in so many different ways, right? Whether it comes down to these sort of situations or it comes down to being in a pub, you don't know what, like you yelling at somebody, you don't know what kind of battles they're fighting in their own life, in their own head, or in their own family or friends or something like that. So I think it's I think there are so many people who are just very harsh in their judgment of and have this like clear line of like, oh, if I was in that position, I would stand up to everything. But
It's
it
easy to
shows
be
that
armchair
it
critic.
definitely shows it is a minority of people that are very often are willing to say and do these things. And I think in that case, you should just encourage the good that they are doing rather than try and nitpick them on like, oh, you stood up to this issue. Well, what about this? People learn and grow and shit like that.
I think for the example of Riot and Tencent specifically, a lot of the people who are speaking up against the Saudi situation have in the past spoken against Tencent, that they don't like it, and I don't think that's going to really change a lot of stuff, but it goes to your point of like, what battles can you actually win? Are you going to go fight fruitless wars? I don't think anyone, no matter how important they are or how collective a full group of people is, can really stop something as giant as Tencent here. Like it just feels like a monolithic, unwinnable battle. And maybe even just me saying that is thinking too small, because I'm sure there's people who will be like, oh well, if you say that, then of course you could never win that fight. Like you're not even trying. But it really just comes down to the math and the economy of what is it worth taking a stand for. So to be like, hey, I'm progressive, but I'm not a bleeding heart SJW liberal who is, a Bernie Sanders on crack. Like you don't have to be all the way that person. You can exist somewhere in the middle, and you shouldn't be criticized for not being that extremist all the time. Like we should look at what happened as a win.
But I think that that like this conversation I had, the person wrote, if you're really woke, you'd bite the very corrupted hand feeding you first. And I thought about it, and what I said in response was, I think that sort of thinking just leads people down the road of nihilism and apathy. The idea that you cannot reject one immoral thing without actively rejecting all of them I think is unfair to human nature. I think that's just unfair to humans.
This is also implying that
they-
like you're completely a person with impeccable morals too. Like
yeah,
maybe it's the company I keep, but I wouldn't consider anyone like completely devoid of perfect morals. Like as humans, we're somewhat flawed. I know what my moral shortcomings are. It's easier for me to lie to people, you know, and sometimes that's a great asset. And is it good to take advantage of it? I mean, you can argue yes, but more often than not, no. You probably shouldn't lie to anyone under any circumstances, right? But like, I know that that's the thing that I can do if I need to. And is it wrong because I'll use it as a tool? Probably, but everyone is imperfect. So it's weird to try and take a stance to me where, you know, if you're not being impeccable, then you're doing it wrong. Like we should take incremental progress and change.
yeah. I have no doubt that there are many things that like I don't try and be aware of every single world issue.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. I find personally that I am a happier person if I focus on just a few things that I can fix and change. But of the world issues that I am aware of, I have no doubt that there is a battle that I will be able to fight sometime in the future. I don't think it's right now, but I do think there is something in the future, and you know, I can.
That sounds really ominous.
I can push change in different ways. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be through grandstanding and large scale. You know.
But if you're not doing it right now, then why does it even matter? What is it? Why am I suddenly from vaguely East Coast? I don't know. God, I should never do voices.
God. It was good. Yeah. So that was the thing that was on my mind this week, and I'm sure it was on yours as well.
Yeah. You know, being more. I pay much more attention to Riot and their inner workings now, working for Liquid and having League of Legends being like an important core part of like the team, right? So yeah, it's definitely something, you know, I know their schedule, I know what's going on, and people talk about it, and it's weird to. I was honestly a little bit surprised at how quickly they about faced. I was almost expecting nothing to happen. So when I did a double take when I saw it the first time, then I did a triple take when they walked it back in 24 hours. I'm like, well, that's cool. That gives me some kind of hope. But that being said, they are going to go bubble everyone in Shanghai for Worlds, right? So
yeah,
one step at a time, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and I will not blame the talent whatsoever that choose to work that event. Oh. I understand the position. I chose to work TI. I understand how that goes. Yeah.
There's also
I World's guess, a dirty, messy, complicated place.
I guess it would be more like China feels like such a gray area to so many people, and also China is so important to Dota and its history and even present day that I feel like there's a connection that's even a little bit outside of politics. If they were hosting TI in like Saudi, I'd be like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, it is kind of weird because China's so, like, as someone who, like, when I did the cuckoo thing, no doubt there was a lot of hate messages coming my way for doing something like that. And you know, that is something that is actually concerning to me, is like pushing people away like that is a bit concerning, because what that whole situation turned into was Southeast Asia versus China, and them hurling insults back and forth against each other, basically dehumanizing each other. And like I've enjoyed all of the events that I've had in China and Southeast Asia. I've both really enjoyed. I like the people that I've met in Southeast Asia. In just general public sense, I don't do that as much in China, but all the people I've worked with at Chinese, not all the people, but a lot of the people that I've worked with in at the Chinese events were good. Remember, I did work the Shanghai Major, so I can't say all of them.
Well, it's that James guy. But, he's a real ass.
But yeah, I there are a lot of people that I've met in various cultures that I really enjoyed getting the chance to meet them. And the last thing I want to do is make them feel like I am against them as a whole, you know? It's yeah, it's a lot of weird things to think about with these sort of things, and they're all very complicated. That's why I don't think people should try and judge so much. Just try and encourage good behavior where you see it.
Yeah, and also people are like changing behavior too, so it's weird to attack someone who's
Yeah.
actively changing, right? It's like, hey, it's like it's like Renessa was talking about when she was on the show. It's about everyone is on some kind of a spectrum, and it's just like incrementing themselves, going one way or the other. So you just kind of gotta respect that change is a process in people. And it's cool to see Riot actually make a change and feel like voices were heard. I'm sure people inside the company were even more stoked about it than we were as observers.
Yeah.
But man, I couldn't segue in, and now I can't even segue out. So I guess I've lost all
Put the
of
segue in a corner, and now it's like that awkward backpedaling deal.
exactly. Have you ever ridden a Segway?
Once, yes. It was actually I rode one. They had it in was it TI? Yeah, it was TI because I distinctly have this image in my head of Bruno riding one of the segways, and I was just waiting for Bruno to hurt himself because it gave me flashbacks. So this is TI9, and some of the Valve members had the Segway because the arena was so big, and so they could get all the way around from one side of the arena to the other because you have to go in a circle. You have to go on the outer edges of the circle, right? So it's a longer amount of distance. And so
Thanks for explaining how circles work to everybody.
I'm not saying you could go straight through. Is the point? You had to go all the way around. You couldn't just go straight through from one side to the other. But it gave me flashbacks watching Bruno on this Segway and him like almost falling a couple times. It gave me flashbacks to ESL1 Frankfurt, the very first event I work. I think that was the first Frankfurt where Bruno worked, and for whatever reason, they started doing foot races against each other. And Bruno and Toby had a foot race, and Bruno tripped somehow and really scraped up his hand really badly on the asphalt and really injured himself. And I was getting flashbacks at that moment. I was just like, I'm watching Bruno. I'm like, oh God, Bruno's going to fall and hurt himself again.
The strong competitive spirit.
Yeah. Toby did win that foot race. And then later on, I think 3 different people raced Hotbid. That was not close at all.
Oh, Hotbid claims to be like an Olympic sprinter. That's like
Hotbid is very fast.
That's like one of his things. He's like, hey guys, I can like play Mafia pretty well. I'm like, I guess I'm okay at like writing jokes, but like if you want to sprint, I got you.
He's pretty good at sprinting. I did not race against him, but I did watch, and I was like, okay, he's pretty fast.
Then, you picked your battle.
And then ping pong is his other one. He's really good at table tennis.
God, I am so incredibly bad at ping pong. It is. If I had to rank everything on Earth that I'm good at, and like just categorize it like 1 to infinity, ping pong is so towards the bottom, it's not even funny. It's one of the things that I am absolutely abysmal at. Ping pong and frisbee. Cap, I do not know how to throw a frisbee.
You don't know how to what? You weren't one of those ultimate frisbee guys?
Absolutely not. I know that I'm wearing a headband right now, and
look like one right now.
I look like I could be an ultimate frisbee person, but my frisbee skills are shitty. And ping pong's really bad too. So we can't do that anytime soon.
If you just walked in with that headband, you're like, yo, bro, you want to throw some frisbee around? Let's go to the park. Let's get ultimate, bro. Like, you fit right. You're perfect. You're perfect.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to figure out how to do long hair. It sucks. It gets in your face. I think I have to get past the point where it pokes my eyes all the time. But
I promise you just shave it all off. It's a whole new world. I don't have to. I'm going to go to a Mega League. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring my razor with me. I don't have to get a haircut while I'm there. No further exposure in that regard. I don't have to meet up with somebody, just cut my hair. I'm going to just keep shaving it every 5 to 6 days. It's going to be the same look the entire of the Omega League. It's going to be great.
You should just shave it once from the beginning and then watch it get longer through all 5 weeks.
I did that for
then
ESL Watch the first time I shaved it. Yeah.
People can date the show based on how long Cap's hair is, like you're some kind of a sundial for the event.
Yeah, I pretty much showed up on like day 3 and I cut off all my hair. It just slowly grew back for the rest of the time.
Man, I think that is the show. I think that's the show. I think people have enjoyed their Tuesday or their Wednesday or whenever the fuck they're listening to that, and they're like, you know what? I got something out of that. I don't know what you just did for the last hour, but I hope that it was good. I hope that we can make you think about either changing your bed sheets or your toothbrush or your opinions on social media about the LEC or I don't know, anything else. Be nice to people in pubs. Maybe try that one. Surely people enjoyed their time with us today, so thank you for spending it with us.
Yeah, normally this podcast is about poop and farts, but today we decided to get deep.
I gotta get Gabe on the show so I can ask him if he's ever shit his pants.
You think Gabe listens? I mean, Gabe seems a real fan of like shit posting. I mean, he's a big Bulldog fan. Like he's a fan of
that.
Of
explains
memes and shit posting,
so much.
So
explains so much.
I think there's a non-zero chance that he could listen to this podcast.
Maybe, but not religiously.
Gabe, send us I saw the video you did for the Kappa Club or whatever that thing was. You could hit us up with the audio. We could open up the show with Gabe's voice.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Side Pull Podcast.
Hey, everybody. My name's Gabe Newell. You can email me at gaben@valvesoftware.com. Thank you for listening to the Side Pull Podcast. And if you would like to press the follow button, it is very helpful. So press that on your Spotify or Apple Podcast player. Thank you for your rampage. I shouldn't even try and do a voice.
I mean, if we were real smart about this podcast, one of us would definitely be emailing Gabe right now. He's got a lot of free time. Wasn't he stuck in New Zealand?
Is he still stuck in New Zealand? He might be.
Then again, people weren't really listening to podcasts during the epidemic.
Yeah, dude, what else was he doing? I'm sure he was listening to Jenkins' episode and he's like, oh, that's so funny. So, like, dude, I bet.
Do you think Gabe's ever shit his pants?
Absolutely.
In public?
Absolutely. I think most people have. Our sample size is too small. It's too small. It's just we're getting a biased data set and I'm getting unlucky. If you get Gabe on the show, he'll be like, yes, I am a billionaire, and there was one time where I just couldn't make it into the Chevron station, and then I'll be like, honestly, thank you, Gabe.
Honestly, if Gabe does that, then like it doesn't matter how many no's we get. Like if a billionaire just openly says, "Yeah, I shit my pants in public once," then like you're good for all time. Yeah, it doesn't
Gabe
matter
shit
how
his
many
pants.
no's we get.
Bill Gates has probably shit his pants. Warren Buffett definitely shit his pants. I think he's like 90 years old now. That's just like a given. Jeff Bezos probably never shit his pants, to be honest. Like that man, I think, is pretty impeccable. Elon Musk probably shit his pants after doing drugs for some reason.
Yeah, you got like really high on ecstasy or some shit.
It's like, whoa, dude, it's so proud. God damn it. How did we get here? I was going to say goodbye, follow the show, rate us 5 stars on Apple, leave us a voicemail, do all that stuff because it helps us. And now we're an independent operation, baby. We're going to, Cap's going to go to Kiev. He's going to come back and then we're going to like hit you with an ad or a Patreon or something. We got to figure that out. Like we need all of your love and support now more than ever because we don't have someone else to pay us for it. So, yeah.